You're going for a hike in the South Hills about dawn. As you walk past a sagebrush, it explodes with the beats of wings. It kind of scares you, but it's also really exciting. These birds are as exciting as they are very important ecological indicators as well as economic drivers for these rural communities around Idaho. Today I'm going to be telling you about the different species of upland birds. Many of them are introduced and some are native. At this point, all of them have grown to be part of Idaho's outdoor landscape. Starting off, we're going to talk about the native species and then the introduced species. And then we'll talk about the threats that face them and then the conservation efforts that are ongoing to help them. The first two species that I'm going to talk about are sage grouse and sharp-tailed grouse. They are both native to the sagebrush steppe, which is essentially here where we live in southern Idaho, minus the farms and the subdivisions. According to the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, some populations of sage grouse have experienced up to 80% loss in their population numbers. On the other hand, the sharp-tailed grouse, according to Pheasants Forever, as of 2022, habitat restoration projects have helped to stabilize their populations. Both of these grouse are generally considered to be in danger of decline. To follow those up, we have the different species of forest-dwelling grouse. There are the ruffed grouse, the dusky grouse, and the spruce grouse. My personal favorite, the ruffed grouse, is more common around this area. According to the Idaho Fish and Game, it prefers younger forests. I primarily find them in aspen stands that are a couple years out of forest fires. The dusky grouse has a similar range as the ruffed grouse, but it is noted by the National Audubon Society as being more sensitive to wildfires. When it burns, its populations are split up more and is damaged worse than the ruffed grouse. The last forest-dwelling grouse is the spruce grouse. It is primarily in northern Idaho, salmon, and north up to the Canadian border. The spruce grouse is noted by many hunters as being one of the least intelligent grouse. You can walk right up to some of them. They primarily only live in conifer forests, and because of that, the University of Idaho lists them as an indicator of boreal forest health. Moving on to quail, we have California valley quail. They are an introduced species as well as Gambel's quail and bobwhite quail. California valley quail is noted by the Fish and Game as being one of the most common upland bird species to find in an urban setting. The only native to Idaho quail species there is the mountain quail. If you ever see one, Idaho Fish and Game would like to know about it. How you recognize them is a little plume, a straight plume off the top of their head, a chestnut colored throat, and white bars down their sides. There is no clear population map because they are so thoroughly dispersed and living in such small populations. The ring-necked pheasant, right there, is probably the most iconic upland bird species. When most people think of going upland hunting, they think of the ring-necked pheasant. They were introduced into Idaho in the late 1800s. And Idaho Fish and Game cites them as being responsible for over $20 million a year being injected into Idaho's local economies. The chucker partridge, also known as a chucker, was introduced into Idaho in the 1930s. They were introduced from the Middle East. They are a hardy little bird that thrive particularly in southern Idaho's rocky desert canyons. The Audubon Society, not yet. The Hungarian gray partridge, also known as a gray partridge or just a hun, was introduced from Europe. They are one of the most common upland bird species in Idaho, according to the Audubon Society, and they're particularly common here in the South Hills of southern Idaho. So one of the biggest threats facing these upland bird species is wildfires as well as habitat loss. Wildfires wouldn't normally present such a large problem considering we've been dealing with wildfires for millennia, but seeing as there's been so much urban development, when a fire comes through, there is not always a safe area for these birds to flee to. Right now, these birds are essential to our environment because they provide the spreading of seeds as well as eating potentially invasive insects, as well as being a food source for many predators. The conservation efforts that we are seeing happen right now, starting with the Pitson and Robertson Act. Each time someone buys outdoor gear, a portion of that goes to protecting these animals. Furthermore, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service reports that they have given the state of Idaho $15 million to help with upland bird conservation. Idaho's Wildlife Habitat Improvement Program as well helps landowners to restore critical habitat needs, as well as backcountry hunters and anglers, as well as other groups, are keeping their eye on policy and legislation, trying to advocate for these species. So we have talked about the different breeds or species of introduced birds, native birds, how they're valuable, as well as what is threatening them and what we are doing to help them. These birds are more than just something to shoot at or fill your freezer with. They are a barometer of the health of our ecosystems. So next time you're hiking and you hear those wing beats, remember that that is the heartbeat of Idaho's backcountry. Thank you. Sure, you can clap.